We've all been there. You watch a trailer that promises relentless action, heart-pounding chases, and a hero worth cheering for. You buy the ticket, take your seat, and wait for the adrenaline to hit. But something's off. The pacing is slow, the plot is darker. The so-called action moments never arrive, or worse, they do, but feel nothing like what the trailer sold you. And that's when it hits. You weren't watching the movie. You were watching the marketing. In Hollywood, the trailer isn't just a preview, it's a pitch. And more often than not, it's a pitch made by people who didn't make the film. Trailers are typically crafted by third-party marketing firms who splice together the most appealing shots, sometimes before the movie is even finished. Their goal isn't to tell the truth, it's to sell a feeling, a genre, a fantasy. Even if that means disguising a slow-burn psychological thriller as a high-octane action romp. Some of these cinematic bait-and-switches are harmless. Others? They mislead entire audiences, skew critical reception, and turn potential cult classics into box-office disasters. In a world where perception shapes profit, the trailer can become a weapon of hype, of manipulation, or sometimes of outright deception. Today, we're going beyond the marketing curtain. These aren't just action movies. These are 15 films where the trailer told one story and the movie told another. From buddy comedies that were actually violent revenge tales to sci-fi blockbusters that barely scratched the surface of their own lore, these films didn't just break expectations. They rewrote them. Let's dive into 15 action films whose trailers lied about everything and explore what was really hiding behind the edit bay. Fact شباك واحد خمسة Split. Second, 1992. The trailer promised sci-fi mayhem. The film delivered something far stranger. The marketing for Split Second sold it like a run-of-the-mill futuristic action film, neon lighting, giant guns, and a monster that looked like it had just walked off the set of Alien. The trailer promised horror, gore, apocalypse. But the film itself? It was noir, bleak, and weirdly quiet. Set in a flooded, dystopian London, Split Second follows a grizzled cop, Rutger Hauer, who's chasing a serial killer that may or may not be human. The trailer makes the creature a focal point, but the actual film downplays the monster almost entirely, focusing instead on Hauer's crumbling psyche, his guilt, and a pervasive sense of urban dread. Critics and audiences who went in expecting action-heavy creature horror walked away confused. The monster barely appears. The fight scenes are sparse. And the mood is more existential decay than shoot 'em up chaos. It's a psychological thriller wearing a sci-fi mask. Was this a case of deceptive marketing or a studio desperately trying to find any angle that would make the film marketable? Fact شباك واحد أربعة Bulletproof 1996. The trailer laughed. The film bled. Bulletproof, starring Damon Wayans and Adam Sandler, was marketed as a buddy cop comedy in the vein of Beverly Hills Cop or Lethal Weapon 4. The trailer is packed with slapstick moments, car chases with punchlines, and classic Sandler mugging. But the movie itself veers into unexpectedly dark territory and fast. In the actual film, Wayans plays an undercover cop who is shot in the head by Sandler's character during a botched bust. That event creates an emotional rift that never fully heals, and while the duo exchanges barbs throughout the movie, there's an undercurrent of guilt, betrayal, and even psychological trauma that the trailer completely ignores. The tonal dissonance hurt the film's reception. Audiences came expecting laughs. What they got was a gritty, uneven ride with jarring moments of violence. Critics weren't kind, calling it a tonal mess. But was it the film's fault or the trailer's? Sometimes, comedy trailers sell anything, even when the story doesn't want to laugh. Fact 13. Silent Rage. 1908. Chuck Norris versus a serial killer with supernatural powers? The trailer conveniently left that out. Silent Rage presents itself, at first glance, as a classic Chuck Norris action flick. Big fists, big hair, and even bigger punches. The trailer plays it safe. A sheriff in a small town facing escalating violence. Standard fare for Norris. What it doesn't mention is that the villain is essentially an unkillable mutant slasher. The film quietly merges the action genre with horror, specifically the unstoppable killer trope pioneered by Halloween. Norris's character finds himself tracking a murderer who's been brought back from the brink of death by experimental medical procedures, rendering him nearly invincible. The final confrontation isn't a gunfight, it's a showdown between man and monster. The trailer keeps the horror elements buried, perhaps to avoid alienating Norris's core action fanbase. But audiences were thrown. Silent Rage plays more like Friday the 13th than Missing in Action, and for fans expecting another standard beatdown, the supernatural tone was jarring. Was the studio hiding a genre mashup they didn't believe in, or testing the waters for a new Chuck Norris mythology? Fact 12 Deep Cover, 1919. The trailer sold bullets and bravado. The film delivered politics and moral collapse. When Deep Cover hit theaters in 1992, its trailer made it look like a slick, stylish cops and drugs action thriller. Lawrence Fishburne as the undercover agent. Jeff Goldblum as the wild card. Fast edits. Gunfire. Street chaos. Everything screamed cool noir action. But the film itself was a deep, simmering political statement. Directed by Bill Duke, Deep Cover goes far beyond the tropes of undercover thrillers. It explores institutional corruption, the U.S. government's role in drug trafficking, and the racial trauma of being used as both enforcer and pawn. Fishburne's character isn't a hero. He's a man unraveling, caught between duty and identity, watching as the system around him devours itself. The trailer? Not a hint of that. No voiceover about ethics. No mention of the film's central thesis that the war on drugs is morally rigged. Audiences came for a violent cop film. They got a socio-political powder keg wrapped in noir shadows. Was the marketing team afraid of scaring off the action crowd? Or was Deep Cover simply too radical for its own time? Factation 1, Best of the Best 21993. The trailer said, "We're back." The movie said, "He's gone." The trailer for Best of the Best 2 opens with high-energy martial arts, callbacks to the first film, and a promise of continued camaraderie. Eric Roberts returns. Philip Rhee returns. It's the next chapter of the underdog victory story. What it doesn't show intentionally is that one of the original leads dies in the first act. The film kills off Tommy Lee's Rhee brother Travis in a brutal underground fight. And this time, the movie abandons competition sports for revenge thriller. It's bloodier, meaner, and completely different in tone. Fans who loved the earnest, emotional journey of the first film were blindsided. Even the visual language of the trailer lies. It uses scenes from earlier in the film to suggest a buddy arc that never materializes. That's not a marketing accident. That's misdirection. When a film markets nostalgia and delivers trauma, what happens to trust? Fact 1-2. Drive 21. The trailer promised Fast and Furious. What we got was silent fury and existential dread. If you watched the trailer for Drive without context, you'd expect a high-octane thrill ride. Ryan Gosling behind the wheel, tire screeches, guns flashing, synth pop backing every explosion. It had all the markings of a sleek action flick, stylish, violent, and cool. But Nicholas Winding Refn's film was something else entirely. Drive is slow, minimalist, a neon-drenched meditation on isolation, masculinity, and sudden brutality. Its violence, when it comes, is fast and jarring, unlike the trailer's rhythmic beat of car chases and shootouts. Critics lauded the film's style and subversion. Audiences expecting an action-packed night out? Many were disappointed. One viewer even filed a lawsuit claiming the trailer was false, advertising an extreme case, but one that proves the point. Was the misdirect clever artistry or a marketing misfire that betrayed its audience? Fact 9. Executive Decision. 1909. The trailer crowned Steven Seagal the lead. The film killed him in 30 minutes. From its trailer, Executive Decision looked like a full-throttle Seagal showcase, another high-stakes military thriller with martial arts mayhem. The poster had his face. The opening moments of the trailer highlight him barking orders, boarding planes, setting the tone for the mission. But what the marketing never told you: Seagal's character dies before the story even starts. Roughly 30 minutes into the film, in a shocking and abrupt sequence, Seagal's elite commander is jettisoned from a plane mid-air during a failed docking maneuver. Just like that, he's gone, leaving Kurt Russell's far less action-oriented analyst to lead the charge. The audience reaction? Stunned silence. Many came for Seagal and found themselves stuck with a suit in a leather bomber jacket. But the film uses that twist deliberately to subvert the action hero saves the day formula. Russell isn't a fighter. He's vulnerable. That's the point. Still, the trailer lies with confidence. Not a single hint that the lead dies early. And in doing so, it sold an entirely different movie than what was delivered. When the star vanishes before Act 2, does the story lose credibility or gain weight? Fact has height. Reign of Fire. 2002. The trailer teased dragon warfare. The film delivered post-apocalyptic dread. The trailer for Reign of Fire is epic. Fire-breathing dragons attacking modern cities, helicopters flaming out mid-air, explosions, and a testosterone-fueled standoff between Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey. It looked like a medieval Independence Day. But the actual film is something far more subdued and far stranger. Most of it takes place in ash-covered ruins. There are no cities left. Society has collapsed. Action is sparse. And the film leans into mood, fear, desperation, survival. Audiences walked in expecting a dragon apocalypse. What they got was The Road with Scales. The dragon battles? Few and far between. McConaughey's wild energy feels out of sync with the film's grim tone. And Bale's character spends most of the movie trying not to fight. Was this a clever subversion of genre tropes, or a miscalculated marketing promise? Fact Shabak Seba. Sucker Punch. Alfan wa Ahadashar. The trailer showed fantasy overload. The film wrestled with trauma. From the trailer, Sucker Punch looked like a teenage fever dream. Schoolgirls with swords, Nazi zombies, mech suits, dragons, and slow-motion ballet combat set to pulsating music. It screamed escapist action over the top and unapologetic. But the real film is far more layered and far darker. Directed by Zack Snyder, Sucker Punch tells the story of a young woman institutionalized against her will, retreating into fantasy worlds to survive her trauma. The action scenes are metaphors, stylized fragments of a mind under siege. None of that nuance makes it into the trailer. The promo materials marketed it as a live-action video game, ignoring the psychological framing device that makes sense of the chaos. Viewers expecting popcorn spectacle were blindsided by scenes of abuse, control, and lobotomization. Critics were divided. Was it exploitative? Empowering? Misunderstood? One thing was certain. It wasn't the movie that was promised. If the fantasy is just a mask for pain, should the trailer have warned us? Fact Sheshi, Last Action Hero. Vienas tuxtantis devinishimtai deviniasdeshimtris. The trailer sold another Schwarzenegger shoot. M Up. The movie parodied them all. With Terminator 2 still fresh in the public's mind, Last Action Hero was marketed like another Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle, big guns, big explosions, and even bigger one-liners. The trailer is filled with action cliches, cars flipping, villains sneering, Arnie cracking jokes with a bazooka on his shoulder. But the film? It wasn't really an action film at all. It was a satire, a deeply meta commentary on Hollywood tropes, genre fatigue, and the absurdity of the action hero persona. Schwarzenegger plays Jack Slater, a fictional action star whose world is invaded by a cynical, real-world boy, forcing both characters to confront the gap between cinema and reality. Audiences expecting a straightforward adrenaline rush found themselves trapped in a surreal loop of in-jokes, self-parody, and genre deconstruction. Many were confused. Some were angry. Critics panned it for being overstuffed and self-indulgent, but over time, it's become a cult classic. When a trailer sells fantasy, but the film delivers a mirror, who's responsible for the disconnect? Fact 5. Demolition Man, 1993. The trailer masked the absurdity. The film embraced it. On paper, Demolition Man looked like a dystopian action showdown between two titans. Sylvester Stallone as the rogue cop unfrozen in the future, and Wesley Snipes as the chaotic villain threatening a sanitized society. The trailer emphasized their clash, stylized gunplay, and futuristic warfare. But the film itself is, at heart, a sci-fi comedy. It mocks modern morality, consumerism, and hyper-regulation. There's a fast food monopoly, a war on swearing, police officers trained not to engage in violence. The biggest fight scene happens in a museum. The tone? Satirical to the core. The trailer ignored all of that. It made Demolition Man look like another Stallone Snipes beat-em-up, completely omitting its bizarre world-building and deadpan humor. As a result, many action fans walked into the theater unprepared for how gleefully weird it was. Was the marketing afraid to admit it was funny, or was the film too strange to explain? Fact 4. The Village, 2004. The trailer promised horror. The film whispered something else. The Village had one of the most misleading trailers of the 2000s. Directed by M. Night Shyamalan, it was advertised as a chilling creature feature. The trailer teases red-cloaked monsters stalking villagers, a forbidden forest, and ominous warnings like, "Those we don't speak of." What audiences got was a slow-burn drama about fear, control, and social isolation. Yes, there were creatures, but they were part of an elaborate hoax. The film's central twist revealed that the village existed in the modern day, and the monsters were costumes used by elders to enforce tradition. Horror fans were livid. The marketing had framed the film as a spiritual successor to Signs and The Sixth Sense, but the real story was more psychological than supernatural. When trailers build a myth and the film dismantles it, does that deepen the impact or betray the audience? Fact 3. The Transporter, 2002. The trailer sold a relentless action showcase. The actual film had pieces missing, literally. When the Transporter first dropped its trailer, it looked like Jason Statham's breakout vehicle would be all gas, no brakes, explosions, slick fight choreography, high-speed chases. It promised a sleek, stylish, European actioner with martial arts precision and breakneck pacing. And yet, the theatrical version of the film wasn't the one fans were sold. Major scenes teased in the trailer, like Statham battling enemies with a fire hose, or more graphic fight sequences, were missing or cut short. The MPAA had intervened. The studio trimmed scenes for rating concerns. What's more, entire subplots hinted at in early teasers were never developed in the final cut. Fans noticed. Bootlegs of the uncut version circulated, and online forums exploded with frame-by-frame comparisons. What was marketed as brutal and kinetic became tame and oddly neutered in theaters. Was this censorship disguised as creative editing, or a franchise being sanitized before it even began? Fact 2. Rambo. Last Blood, 29. The trailer said rescue mission. The movie was revenge carnage. The trailer for Rambo, Last Blood, was restrained. Somber music, a subdued Stallone, a storyline about an old warrior protecting family and rescuing a kidnapped girl from a cartel. The message? Redemption. Closure. One last mission. But the movie itself is a bloodbath. There's no extended rescue arc. She dies halfway through the film. What follows is an escalating chain of brutal revenge, with Rambo turning his ranch into a torture labyrinth. It's Home Alone reimagined by a war criminal. The trailer carefully excluded the more graphic set pieces, limb-shattering traps, slow-motion kills, and the final heart extraction scene. It pitched the film as an emotional goodbye. It delivered pure grindhouse. Was the marketing team trying to avoid backlash? Or did they know what they were hiding was too brutal to sell? Fact shown, The Grey 2011. The trailer ends with Liam Neeson fighting a wolf. The movie ends before that fight ever happens. Few trailers in modern memory have sparked more anticipation and confusion than The Grey. The final shot of the trailer is iconic. Liam Neeson, bloodied and breathing heavy, taping glass shards to his knuckles, preparing to fight a wolf. The music swells. Fade to black. Audiences bought tickets to see that scene. It never happened. In the actual film, that moment is the final image, but the fight itself is never shown. The screen cuts to black. What comes before it is a harrowing tale of existential dread, man versus nature, and the slow erosion of hope. It's not an action movie, it's a philosophical survival meditation. Some viewers felt duped. Others admired the film's restraint. But there's no denying the trailer deliberately sold a climax it didn't intend to deliver. If a trailer promises a showdown, does it owe the audience the final punch? Bonus fact: Steel, 1997. This one didn't make the top 15, but it might just be the strangest of all. In 1997, Steel arrived with little fanfare and even less clarity. Starring NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, the film was based on a DC Comics character, an armored vigilante battling crime with homemade gadgets. The trailer leaned heavily into comic book aesthetics. Heroic poses, high-flying tech, and upbeat one-liners. It framed the movie as a fun, family-friendly superhero romp light on violence, heavy on inspiration. But what the trailer didn't prepare audiences for was just how badly misjudged the tone and execution would be. Steel is a tonal disaster, awkwardly directed, bizarrely acted, and almost aggressively dull. The action feels stilted, the humor falls flat, and Shaq, despite his charisma, seems lost in a script that doesn't know if it's for kids or adults. Most jarring of all, the film avoids the one thing that might have saved it: embracing its comic book roots. There's no sense of mythology, no serious stakes, and none of the grit that had started redefining superhero cinema in the post-Batman Returns era. The trailer lied by omission, presenting Steel as a genre ride when it was barely coherent. It didn't just mislead viewers, it concealed a product that was never ready to be sold. Is it false advertising if the trailer hides not just content, but incompetence? So, which of these cinematic switcheroos caught you off guard? Did you ever leave a theater feeling like you watched the wrong movie because the trailer sold you something else entirely? Let's hear it in the comments. Was it clever misdirection or just marketing manipulation? And if there's a trailer that fooled you, one that promised explosions and gave you existential dread, drop the title below. We're still watching and still wondering what we were really sold.